Time now for your forewarned weather with Cedric Haynes.
All right, folks, let's get your forecast here for you on this Tuesday morning. Hopefully your Tuesday's off to a pretty good start. We've got more sunshine heading our way, and for most of the state, it's going to be sunny and hot as we go throughout, really not only today, but through most of this week. We'll see a brief dip in the temperatures as we get towards the middle of the week, but it's not much to really write home about. Also, yes, we're going to have another day today where we could see a couple of those isolated showers and downpours, primarily over the central and southern mountains, and really just the higher terrain. That's going to be your best chance of seeing that today. That will actually change, though, as we go into your Wednesday. We're still not talking about high rain chances, but a storm system moving by well to our north could graze the northern half of the state and give a slightly better chance of an isolated storm there. And that storm could be on the strong to severe side, so we'll keep an eye on that. Otherwise, we're going to really dry things out and heat things up for the end of the week heading into the weekend. And that's going to mean a critical fire concern that's going to return as we get towards the second half of the week. All right, let's get you out there and tell you what's kind of going on with those temperatures this morning because, yeah, we are starting things off here on a fairly mild note out there across most of the state here as we've got those temperatures that are in the 50s to mid-50s up towards Logan, 40s over towards the Wasatch back. We've got 50s and 60s across the rest of the state and low 70s showing up there across far southern Utah. As we go throughout this afternoon, we'll see those temperatures climbing to around 90 degrees across Cache Valley. We'll be in the mid-90s here, I think, today as we get towards the Wasatch Front. How about 98 over towards Moab, 94 in Lake Powell? And, yeah, you see that 102 expected today in St. George. That's pretty hot, folks, and if you're going to be out and about throughout the day, you got to make sure that you are taking those heat precautions out there very seriously here with that type of heat there, and you're also just being out in the direct sunlight, and that can be draining on the body alone. So, of course, as we always tell you, make sure you're staying hydrated. That means drinking plenty of water, but also don't forget to replace those electrolytes out there. That goes hand in hand with all that water there that you're drinking. And, of course, as we like to mention, make sure you get that sunscreen SPF 30 or greater, or you could burn in less than 15 minutes with this type of UV index. And, yeah, you don't want to do that. So make sure you're lathering that sunscreen on every couple of hours. You're outside, you're sweating, you're losing the effects of that stuff. So make sure that you kind of reapply that to make sure you're staying safe when it comes to that. Light colored clothing, make sure it's comfortable, it's loose fitting, and yeah, you're not wearing some of those darker colors. And of course, if you got to work outside, you got to take frequent breaks, folks, to just try to find the shade, or if you could find some free AC, that's even better. As we go throughout this afternoon, we'll be watching for the chance of a couple of those isolated cooling downpours to develop. Notice, though, primarily over the higher elevations of the central and southern terrain here. But for the most part, that's going to be pretty much about it. That may extend into southwest Utah as we continue on throughout your Tuesday evening. Otherwise, going into Wednesday, we start off quiet, but Wednesday afternoon, notice the clock there, 2, 3 o'clock, we'll be watching for a few pop-ups in the mountains and maybe a little bit of activity coming in across northwestern Utah. And a short window of time, Wednesday afternoon, between about 2 and about 7 o'clock in the evening, we'll have a chance a couple of these isolated storms that could get a little feisty here across far northern Utah here into southwest Wyoming. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on that. That's really the main area of concern here as we go throughout the week here, will be that region there that we've got to keep an eye on here, and that will continue into the early evening hours before it begins to fade on out across the area. Otherwise, the heat will be the main story as we go throughout the rest of the week. So rain chances, as we look at those precipitation potential, you'll be able to see here over towards Cache Valley, Park Valley, Logan, over towards Evanston. That's going to be your best chance of seeing any of those isolated storms getting going. But for most of us here, we're going to be talking about staying dry. But for the few areas that can see it, we could be talking about some gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour. We're also going to be watching out for some gusty winds to kind of potentially give us a little bit of a fire concern here over northwestern Utah as well. That does include the Wasatch Front and back towards the west. So that's something else to keep an eye on as well. So as we take a look here at your forecast in St. George, slight chance of a pop-up shower. Otherwise, the heat is on with the triple-digit temperature sticking around across the region. And as we take a look at your forecast along the Wasatch Front, we've got isolated storm chances here as we go throughout the rest of the week. But overall, the heat will be the big story.